Hello, guys. Hi, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're based in the whole world. Um, my name is Boluwatife Olaoye, a direct descendant from the Lord Jesus Christ. A friend of mine uses that. I've been wanting to borrow it for a while now. But anyway, so thank you for joining us today. We really value your time. We appreciate everything you're doing, and again, my name is Bolu Olaoye for those who really don't know me. And for the benefit of those who do not know the host as well, I will give it back to them to introduce themselves. So over to Victor and Chidi. Yes.
Thank you.
Hi,
Thank you. Hi,
everyone.
Bully. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We are looking forward to having a great time today. So let's roll.
So can you just tell us a little bit about, yourselves and what you guys do and how we came about this program that I'm hosting today?
Thank you. And thank you for being such a great host.
Absolutely.
I am Chidi Akunna, and with me here is my husband, Victor Akunna. We run Foundation for Family Affairs with a mission to connect hearts and raise how do we say
Yeah. Well, the goal is to connect hearts
and
to
raise healthy families. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, guys. So today we're talking about romance. And as we all know, tomorrow is Valentine's Day. And for the women out there who are yet to get some Valentine's gift, guys, please don't get boxers this year. And for the men, I might have um, some ideas for you just in case, you need help in getting your gift. There is iPhone 12 Pro Max. There is Galaxy S. I know that doesn't compare to the boxers, but but again, since tomorrow is Valentine's Day, we're talking about romance and how to spice up romance in your marriage, especially for busy couples. I think we're in the microwave age. That I heard someone said that, where everything is just fast. You want it to be done right now. There's no time to waste. And so when it comes to our work and with other people that we have to attend to, our parents, our siblings, the friends in our lives, it's like we're all being pulled in separate places at the same time, and we're very busy. And there, in so many instances, our marriages suffer because of that. And so when we talk about romance, I want you to explain what romance means to you, the definition of romance. Because for me, or for some people, when you talk about romance, automatically it means sex.
Yeah.
For others, when you talk about romance, it might mean to a lady, you pulling out the chairs, you open the door for her. For someone like me, when you talk about romance, it might mean, just paying attention to the little things, the things that others will probably not pay attention to. Maybe I wanted to get something yesterday at the store, I forgot. And then on your way from work today, you decided to get it. Oh, I love that. So, so I guess my question is, in your definition, what is romance?
Thank you for that. And we must say thank you to those who have joined us and those who will be joining us. Romance means different things to different people, like you very well highlighted.
Yes.
But we have a famous definition of romance, which is simply the little but consistent things you do on a daily basis in pursuit of your spouse's happiness, attention, and heart, attention, and happiness. Yes. So little but consistent things. They don't really have to be big things. You mentioned one very small thing, which is also very impactful to the relationship, which is opening doors for your spouse. So they're little things. It might just be helping out in the house, little, but they're consistent. Okay, you don't just do it one day, or okay, yes, tomorrow is Valentine's, so I'm going to wow you. After the wows that's coming your way, and then that's it. After on the 15th, we're back to normal, the way it used to be. So they have to be little but consistent things you do on a daily basis in pursuit of your spouse's heart, attention, and happiness. I'll let him talk a little bit.
Absolutely. And I like the way she's emphasizing little but consistent. That makes it accessible to everyone. So it's no longer, oh, I have to have like 2 billion naira or 2 billion pounds in my account to be able to do it. It's little but consistent thing. So the key word here is being thoughtful, looking at your spouse and knowing what will make them smile for every moment. For a woman, most times it's different for every day. So you need to be able to be conscious. And that means that you need to be intentional about putting a smile on her face, because the only way you can notice her needs is when you observe closely. So the little but consistent things we do on a daily basis, not on a special occasion, but on a daily basis. Yeah, that's just a summary of what we mean by.
And I'll just throw in something little. I mean, it's not it's a very broad topic we cannot exhaust today.
Yeah.
But what we say, in pursuit of your spouse's heart, attention, and happiness, that's me looking into his needs. So in essence, we would say romance should be customized. So there are a lot of men out there. What works for A will not work for B.
Absolutely.
What works for another man may not work for my husband. So this is me looking at what will catch his heart, what will catch his attention.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's flip it. In my case, what will catch my heart? That's him paying attention to what phase of life I'm in at the moment. Okay. What's your wife doing at this time? Is she pregnant? If she's pregnant, what should you be doing for her? She might need a little more care than you used to give. Yeah. So yes, that's just a bit of it. I thought I'll throw that in.
Yeah.
For a bit of it.
So don't buy flowers for a woman that needs you to change diapers. You may not really appreciate it. Find out what she needs at the moment. So I'll just let that lie. That's it.
Well, thank you both. And but you can still buy flowers and change diapers, right?
Yeah. You can see black people. I'm trying to emphasize focus. You can still buy flowers. You appreciate it, but not at the expense of what she needs at the moment.
Yes. Okay. Thank you both. So my next question is about our backgrounds, our upbringing, and the effect it has, when it comes to our present, our reality, pretty much. For example, when I was growing up, my parents, they've been married now for 45 years. And my father had these really, he has pet names for my mom, but they're not your usual pet names like, oh, my heart, Ifemi, or whatever. These are, and they're in Yoruba, and they're so conk, and there are times that we'll need to break it down for you and tell you what it means, But growing up, I remember there were times when my father will, he traveled a lot, but times when he was around, there were times when he would tell my mom not to go to the kitchen because he wanted to cook. Wow. And I saw periods when my mom would be waiting by the dining set, at the dining table, just waiting for him to come back home, just so that they could eat from the same plate. And so for me, that was what I saw growing up, and I remember there was a point, and as of that time, my father could not do any wrong. It was perfect. So growing up, I remember I used to say, oh, I wanted something like my dad. You have to be able to cook, you have to be able to do this and that. And it got to a point when a friend of mine had to sit me down and said, hey, you know what? It can't work that way. And I think a few years ago, I saw my father do something and my mom was talking about it. And I was like, you should be so mad, Mama. And she's like, no, why will I be mad? And I'm thinking, oh, yeah, he's your husband. It cannot be my husband. God made him for you. But I guess it affects all of us, whether we know it or not. I feel like our reality, they're impacted by our upbringing. So how do you balance both, so that you don't let your background and your upbringing affect whatever it is you're working on right now?
Well, that's a very good question. Now, backgrounds are not always bad. That's why I like the fact that you gave us a good example of a good background. Why? Because whether we like it or not, every one of us come from a family. We come from what we like to call it. We come from a specific nation, right? Because we believe that family is a nation. So I came from a specific nation. My wife came from a specific nation, and within the family she came from, there are certain examples and models that she's seen, which some of them she's happy with, some of them she's not happy with. And then I'm also coming from a certain family. I've seen some models, maybe on how to manage money or how to do some things. Some of them I'm happy with, some of them I'm not happy with. Now, specifically about romance and how my parents treated each other, there are examples that I liked, there are examples I didn't like. But at the back of my head, I was thinking, okay, when I start my own home, I'm going to do it this way. Now, when I got married to my wife, she had her own expectations. So what we did was to have a conversation about these issues, particularly when we were dating. What are your expectations around this? What are your expectations around that? What are your expectations? Okay, when you get angry, what do you do? Okay, what do you expect? What's your understanding of a husband? What's your understanding of a wife? What are you going to do? What role? So these expectations were discussed because sometimes our background program was for specific expectations. So you walk into a relationship, you say, this is how a husband should behave based on the model of husband you saw, positive or negative. So if it's someone like you that is coming from a very high level couple, parents that are very high level or standard in terms of what is done, that's a possibility that you're going to have you project some expectations on the guy that's going to say, hi girl.
Yes.
Because you've seen how happy they are. And everybody wants to be happy. Everyone wants to. So why reinvent the wheel? I'll just, say this is what I want and I want to expect it from. However, you're not going to marry your dad. You're going to marry a completely different person who will also come with his own expectations, just like you have your own expectations. So along the line, there will be some level of conversations that will help you now balance out your expectations and his expectation. Then you now form a new nation, a new family. And based on that, we keep learning. It's like a dance. All right. So our backgrounds influences how we do things. Some people that came from a very abusive background, they have the tendency to, expect men to be abusive. And so you see some women, when the man is not treating them roughly, insulting them, they feel something is not right because they are used to abuse so much, they've adjusted to it. And so they feel like maybe he doesn't love me, maybe he's planning something evil because it's not been hard, it's not been harsh. That's the extreme of this background thing. So it depends on the background. But one key thing is you must want to create a different experience. Having said that, it's not enough to want to create a different experience. You must become the kind of person that can create that kind of experience. So I may say, I want to be this kind of a man. But the development I'm working on, the way I'm reprogrammed, my mindset is still it's like the mindset of where I've been. I can't just wish something, otherwise everybody can have what they want.
I know.
Yes, I need to begin to say, to behave like that, how do I need to think? Who should be in my circle of influence? That's why they say a good marriage is contagious. If you have people who have very good relationship, you are likely to pick up some attitudes, some behaviors, some of these things, and then unconsciously you replicate that model and you have the kind of marriage. So it's not enough to say, I want this marriage. No. Who do I need to become to create this kind of marriage? So you have to be able to do, to be able to have that kind of marriage. That's what I like to say to that. Yeah.
Thank you. So you have to be intentional about what exactly it is that you want. Okay.
Absolutely.
So when we talk about romance, I feel like, it is based on whatever stage you are in life. You can't just meet someone today, or I'm not expected to meet someone today and then, walk down the aisle tomorrow. We have to date or court, whatever word. And then from there we get married and, from there there's parenting. And so I feel like romance differs on all the stages, so I guess how do you keep the fire burning in all of these stages? I feel like when we're dating, a friend of mine once said, when you're dating, the guy tends to define romance based on your own language. He does what you want him to. And then the moment you get married, is defining romance based on his own language. Now, what he would love to do for you. And then there's parenting when you start having kids. And of course, we know that kids takes priority. So how do you keep the fire burning, on the different stages that you're in?
Wow.
Okay, I think one critical thing, which he touched on slightly earlier, was being intentional.
Absolutely.
You have to be intentional about the needs of the other. Okay, and I think I kind of scratched it a bit when I was speaking, and I talked about romance being customized. Now, for each phase, in the dating phase, you're at that space where you're trying to, yes, make her feel important, make her know that she's relevant. And then there's that stage as we progress. Now, after marriage, some people take in immediately. At that point, what she might have found you giving her bouquets of flowers really romantic when you were dating. Yes. By the time she's pregnant, what she might find romantic is that she might need you to do her shoes. Okay, help me with my shoes, help me with this, help me with that, rub my back. Right at that point, it needs to look like, okay, well, I went out, I just returned from work, and I brought you a bouquet of flowers. It doesn't seem like you appreciate it. But that her needs at that time has changed, have changed.
Yes.
Then she's to the point where she becomes a mom. Her needs will further change, where she returns home. She just expects that you assist a bit because there's something we said we put on our Instagram, and we said an exhausted couple is rarely an intimate couple. So when people are exhausted, they can't look out for the needs of the other. Okay, in that state where you're famished, the last thing you want to do is look out for your husband. You just want to find yourself again. So as we go through the phases, it's just important that you pay attention to the other, pay attention to what's happening around your spouse at that time. Probably like she's having to pick on more. Okay, talking from a personal point, I may have new job with new roles, new responsibilities, trying to understand what's happening. How do I even navigate this? So with all of that, having to come back home to cook and take care of a child, I might be needing more of his assistance in that stage. Okay, so just being intentional about, your spouse, look out for the needs of your spouse, understanding the phase of life he or she is in at the time. What's happening around him? Has he picked on more? Understanding is really critical in a relationship because it just gives you perspective. That's me being empathetic, wearing his shoes to understand, he seems a bit withdrawn. What's happening? Why? And then I begin to probe, you see. And then the part he talked about where you need to talk. One thing that does a lot of damage to relationships is unexpressed expectations. Now, you have those expectations, they are unmet expectations. If you don't talk, if you don't express them, then they will never be met.
Another good point is, just to pick up from where you stopped, is that we need to create an atmosphere for our spouses to be able to express themselves.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people don't express themselves because they'll be bullied. I can't believe you're saying that. What kind of idea is that? And that's bullying, and that's intimidating. You are intimidating your spouse. You are rolling your eye like, I can't believe it. Oh no. You're subtly chipping away their confidence. So after a while, what you have is you have a spouse that is very resentful, that is imploding because they are storing in, and nobody can connect with somebody they resent, no matter the level of, if you like, play all the romantic movies in this world. They can never connect with you because they don't trust you with their emotions. They don't trust your mouth, what you're going to say in the next minute. So in a situation like that, when people don't feel safe to express themselves, in fact, one of the things I was looking for before I got married, I said, I want a woman in whose presence I can be myself. I can really express what I'm thinking and not feel like, even if it doesn't make the most sense, not feel like, oh, what is this you're saying? Why? What does that mean? emotional safety. That is a very important thing when people want to build romance. If you want to really connect with people and build intimacy to a certain level, you must create that atmosphere for your spouse to be able to voice their feelings, voice their concerns, voice their fears, share their dreams without you making this funny look. You know, it's an unconscious thing. Because why am I emphasizing that? Because once you become familiar with someone, people are likely to lower their standard of etiquette, their etiquette standard. But because after it's my wife, she will forgive me anyway. After it's my mom, it's my husband, he will forgive me anyway. You know what? Rather than, some people will say, rather than asking for permission, ask for forgiveness. So they know that their spouse will disapprove of this. So I don't want to ask for permission, so he doesn't tell me no. So I won't be like a disobedient husband or a disobedient wife. I'd rather ask for forgiveness. I'll do it anyway and say, this, he will forgive anyway. And that's taking someone for granted.
Yeah.
So another thing is, in addition to creating the right atmosphere, it's also important for you to, create the kind of family you really want. Because, we're talking about busy couples, busy people who are working, who are probably accomplishing great results at work. Some of those skills, you can bring them at home. What do I mean? Ability to share your vision. Where are you guys going? What is the vision? The vision is just a better picture that you guys want to, beyond where we are at, where do we want to be in the next 5 years? What kind of a couple do we want to be? Who are we going to be in the society? Forget what the Instagram is saying now. You have to create your own trend. Who do you want to be? And how do you guys want to position yourself? And who do you need around you? Those are the kind of conversations that help people to have things that they're looking forward to. So that's why, for example, when I was doing my research, I do my PhD, there were times where I was coming back home around 1 a.m. because I was doing a couple of jobs, and then I'll have to go to school and then go to the library and then research till 1 a.m. And then my wife was there picking up stuff, helping out with this, helping out. Those moments were intangible, where they were powerful moments I can never forget. And it created a level of bond that, anyone who just shows up in my life will never have that kind of bond, because my wife was there, rock, I used to say, right, through thick and thin, ride or die. So those are moments where you build incredible connections with people beyond words. And those kind of moments should be cherished as much as possible.
Thank you. So one of the things I picked up is to build a vulnerability zone for your partner, a place where they can just be themselves and just, if they want to act crazy, naive, stupid, whatever it is, without them feeling judged in any way, shape, or form. So thanks for all these nuggets. Don't worry, I will take notes later. And I know you touched a little bit about, your own personal experiences when it comes to different stages. And I guess my question now is, was there a time when maybe both of you or either of you felt burnt out? Like, you know what, I'm tired. Or maybe I don't think I was prepared enough for these, or, whatever it is. Was there a time when you felt like, this is it? How did you get back into the race, so to say?
Okay, do you want to? Yeah. So, well, the last example I shared was a practical time where I was personally burnt out, right? Because it was difficult to go on and on and on and on like that. But one key thing that kept me going and then kept us going, because the way we built our lives is that our lives are intertwined. Whatever is happening to me is impacting her as well, and vice versa. So what does that mean? That means that when there was a time she was undergoing a course, a legal practice course, I stepped in full on and, picked up a lot of things just to make sure that she has a clear head, because she was working full time and she was studying full time. She had a clear head, not to have to bother with so many other things. She had enough on her plate already. And the same reverse. So when I was also doing my own studies and there was a reversal of that, she took on a lot of those. So one key thing there is that we built a system whereby we can always count on each other. Okay. Let it come rain, come shine, I can 100% count on this woman to be there. And that is very solid for any person who wants to go far, who wants to build a fantastic marriage, all right? That will help you not to burn out. When one of the things that causes people to burn out is when they look back and nobody is there to help. Nobody is there to share the bounce ideas from. Nobody is there to help on. So you feel like alone. That feeling of alone, though you are with a lot of people, but you can't really connect with them at a certain emotional level, is one of the reasons why people burn out. That's why you, how do you say it? I mean, I read something some time ago where someone said they created like a bucket of cold icy water, and they put someone there, and they asked them, they were timing them to know how long they could stay there for, and then they turned it around, and then they put somebody in the same ice, and then they had people around them cheering them on. Come on, you can do it, you can do it. And they found out that when people are in a very difficult, harsh situation, but you had people cheering you on, keep going, we are here, we are rooting for you. They were able to stay longer in a tough environment because they had cheerleaders, they had people. How much more if that cheerleader is your spouse? It's invaluable. It's invaluable. When you are chasing a bigger dream, you get to that point of self doubt, and you're asking yourself, who sent me on this journey? And was telling you, did I not tell you that you're not that smart? Why are you doing this? How much more? How about that for a romantic talk, pep talk? You have a spouse that tell you, do you know how smart you are? You are even underestimating yourself. Do you know how good you are? What I see in you, you don't even see in yourself. And the person is looking at you to know if you are just being motivational. And they know that you truly mean it. You truly mean it. It has something it does to the human soul. I'm telling you. I think it was Martin Luther King that says that in difficult times, we don't remember the words of our enemy. We remember the silence of our friends.
Word.
The silence of our friends. When your friend is supposed to speak up, when somebody you trusted is supposed to speak up and defend you, and they are just looking on, that is more painful than all the negative word that is coming from an enemy. All right, so that's one key thing. Knowing that you have your spouse was one of the ways that helped us. Another thing is we had a deadline. So for every phase of life we were going, there was an end in view. Because you notice that when you have an end in view, it helps you to manage things. Like I knew that no matter what happened, my research, my PhD is going to be maximum 3 years plus, maximum, because it was expensive. So I couldn't have dragged more than that. Yeah, my wife had a deadline as well, so she knew this had to be, and and then it kept us focused. So once you have an ending, this pain is temporal, not endless. It was easy for us not to. And then when I eventually finished, and then I dropped the last thing, it was like a huge weight that was lifted off my shoulders. And to be honest with you, I lapsed into a serious level of self-reflection. And what I did was I took time to rest for a prolonged period of time, because I've been pushing myself for a long. Because the thing about it is this: we always say something, that a marriage is what it is because of the people there. So why I'm using this example is because where I am emotionally impacted on my marriage, whether I like it or not, because it's who we are that will bring it to a relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
If you are tired and you are always busy, you're always pulling stuff, you don't have time to bond, it will definitely impact your marriage. The final point I'd like to make is this: my wife was involved in every process, every one of those. She read my thesis, she proofread it, she did, so she was part of it. Because I noticed that one of the key things there is when people are running a lone race, busy guy, you are accomplishing goals, your company is promoting you because of how hard you are working, and they are sending you to more assignments that is taking you farther away from home. When your spouse is not a part of it, they don't know all the changes, all the things you are thinking, they feel alienated. But if someone comes to you and asks you, will you say, I can't give you an answer now, I'd like to discuss it with my wife, automatically she has a voice in the whole process. So she's not like someone that just pulled away. I'm going there, better come along kind of thing. This opportunity, this is what I think, it will help me this way, but what do you think? And you truly, if she says no, you wait until you convince her, not just to drag her along. And because sometimes people use this masculine thing, just pull her along, it may work for now, but it's not a sustainable strategy. It's a matter of time. You're going to be hitting a wall as you keep going. You'll be hitting a wall. And they'll be wondering, what happened? Why is this lady so mean? So because she's been used to... So resentful. She's gotten to that point where she had been pulled and pulled and pulled. She said, you know what? I am not going anywhere. Whatever you want to do, do it. And that's not a place you want to get your spouse to, because your spouse should be your number one support system for any other person.
Well, it's perfect you described that, because it takes me to my next question. So I've heard, so many people talk about and I think the way you just described it now, you rely on each other so much. And a lot of people say your spouse has to be your best friend. You're not supposed to have a best friend outside your marriage. I mean, what do you say to that? Because I have friends, right? I have some really close friends. They've been with me like almost every step of the way. Like a couple of them, we grew up together and we've been through our own things together. And so I guess just me thinking, when I get married, does it mean I have to, in a way, maybe not be serious with those relationships as I would be with my marriage? So what do you say to that? Those people that says your best friend has to be, your spouse. And based on what you described, it seems like you guys are best friends. So I guess, do you have best friends outside of each other? What do you say to that?
Okay, I would say something he said when he was asked this question sometime. And he said, It is recommended. It is recommended. But if the relationship is working, you don't need to break it. But then, because you're talking about going into marriage, what we always encourage is that you make whoever it is your friend.
Okay.
Now, friendship gives oil, grease to the relationship. It brings you together. Who is the best friend? A best friend is, yes, first, someone you feel comfortable in his or her presence.
Yes.
Someone you share ideas, you share the same values with. Now, if the person you talked about, okay, you have your best friends already.
Yes.
Now, there's a level of connection you should have with whoever you're going into marriage with.
Of course.
And that does not happen automatically. You can build that. So yes, you already have these established relationships. I mean, when we go through our intimacy build-ups program for engaged couples, we would always say, yes, you don't have to come in and then pull this person off her network, her support system, existing support system. Okay, that can even do more harm to the relationship than intended. Okay, but it is just nice that you come in and warm yourself even into those relationships. As you both begin to share values, as you begin to connect at a certain level, you would be able to connect with the people around her. It's not a good thing that a man comes into a lady's life and then suddenly does not want her to relate with her friends anymore.
Yeah,
that's even a sign of they'll call it a sign of abuse.
Yes, it's a red flag.
Becoming controlling at that point, right? So it is just nice that you come in and warm yourself. You don't have to force it. It doesn't have to be that, oh, okay, all her friends have to like you. Because I had this conversation with a lady sometime, and she was saying to me that she was in a relationship. She started a relationship with someone who was inside. He was in jail.
Okay.
He had been convicted. And all her friends did not like that. They didn't like him.
Yeah.
So she was kind of torn in between, because she was there. She wanted her friends to like him, and she wanted him to fit into her the relationship, the already existing relationship. Now, for me, that was a point where I thought she needed to fine tune some values. If you, it's a clash of values now. If he doesn't fit into your network, I think that already says something. That already says something, because sometimes the problem you have in some marriages now is that, the man sits back. I'm talking from the perspective of a woman. Okay. The man sits back and he begins to complain, you're always going for these meetings. you're always in these groups, you're always in this. Why? I don't think he would be complaining if he thinks your life is getting better by being with those people. If he does complain, then we would have to look into that, right?
That's true.
If he sees change, if he sees that, oh, being in that group is helping you. Oh, since since you made friends, you became friends with that lady, you save a lot more now. He wants that relationship is beneficial.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be a problem. You want to say something?
Well, I think you said a key thing that I was going to also say. So it's not by force. You have to grow it. You have to nurture it. It's best if your spouse is your best friend, but don't force it overnight. All right, grow into it, nurture each other, support. But if you find a situation whereby she has one or two people take advantage of her, right, in her network, your job is to help her see the blind spots. All right. There are some friends that are high maintenance. Anytime they come into your life, they disrupt your already organized life. I know, because of a historical attachment, you might not see it. So it takes someone who, like they say, you cannot see the picture. You cannot see the picture if you are in the frame. It takes someone who is outside the frame of your experience to see, babe, this lady will take you far. But this one, all right? Begin to create boundaries. But even that, there's a way to do it. You don't come in until, how do we say it? I think Josie Mountain says something. One of the laws of leadership is the law of respect. You have to earn that respect. You need to earn, even though you are a husband, she needs to be fair to you, but don't force it. True leaders don't coerce things. They assume to that role. They grow into that role. You can't force someone who is also probably, a mature woman, a sophisticated woman. She's sound, she's intelligent. That's why you married her in the first place. You can't just come and be telling her what to do. You need to earn it. She needs to see, number one, that you have her best interest at heart. She needs to see that your judgment, your counsel are correct, because wisdom is justified by our children. By your own pedigree, she'll begin to see that I think I can follow this guy. I can see how you did this, did that, did it. It's an unconscious thing. It's not automatically that you're my husband and then I see that you're entering the dish. No, I will not husband you to that place. I will have to follow. But when you have proven yourself over a period of time, you said that God told you this. You saw the result. Okay, tick somewhere in our head. You said that this is what is best for us. We followed it. It turned out well. Tick. It's an unconscious thing. After a period of time, she will, without you having to say anything, she will follow. Same vice versa, because in marriage, you follow each other. There is an area of strength that my wife now, when she talks, I just listen and I follow. Why? She's better in that regard. That is why marriage is about synergy. You bring your strengths, I bring mine, and then we all progress and make progress. The problem happens when one person is the one pulling all it can be very draining. Or one person is laid back and not pulling themselves, maybe because they don't believe that they have it, or they don't think that, since you are doing it, let you carry on doing it. No, it has to be vice versa. And that's why people see that strength in relationship. Let your spouse enjoy the relationship. Yeah.
So, Chidi, you said something earlier. You mentioned, customized. Each relationship is customized based on the individuals involved. So, it's not like when someone for a particular marriage, when they say, oh, my wife has to be my best friend and, no one else, doesn't mean it's applicable to another marriage. So if it works for you, great. And just like you said, give it time, for your partner to grow into the relationship. And you can't just come in and force it on you. So perfect. We're going to talk about sex. Okay, so this is interesting. So here's the question. How often should couples engage in sex? I have a story about that, actually. So I've heard some people say, I don't think I want to have sex more than 3 days a week. And some would be like, that's too small, every day or whatever. Now, those who say it's more than 3 days a week, sometimes you hear the partner say, okay, when you say 3 days a week, does it mean on the day that it falls into, we can go 7 times, but it's still that one day, right? So,
Nice one. I see.
so how often should couples engage in sex? Of course, in the confines of marriage, because that's what we're talking
Yes,
about.
yes. Thank you for
How
chipping
often? Yeah. So, how often do you think guys should engage in sex?
as often as possible. That's keeping it simple now, as often as possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the thing is, when we see the benefits of having sex, then we would have sex often.
Yes.
Please tell me, what are the benefits?
Because like somebody, I was speaking with a friend one time, and she said to me, she's noticed that sometimes she goes home, she's really tired, or like, okay, everyone's working from home. After working, she's really tired. And the last thing on her mind is for her husband to touch her. So when he comes, like, no, 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 no. And sometimes he persists. And by the time he's done, she's like, oh, I feel better. Right? So she was discussing this and saying, come. And that was when I was like, okay, yes, sex has its benefits. Sex helps you relieve stress.
Yes.
Yes, you're already tired, but you'll be amazed at how relieved you feel after the engagement.
Okay.
Sex. So, okay, you have a question?
No. What you say, you have to relieve stress, and I'm thinking, how about those who are like really stressed out, like you can't even, like mentally and emotionally, you're drained. How do you enjoy that?
You will in the course of it now, and that it depends on what happens in the process.
Okay.
When we speak with couples, we say you need to enjoy the process. It's not just about the end. So that's what makes it satisfying. That's what helps you. That's what helps bring relief. Now the process involves that you go through the foreplay for the woman. In the course of that, you're touching her nerves. Different parts of her would be relaxing. You identify the erogenous spots in the man, in the woman, and you go for those areas. Those areas bring excitement. They bring pleasure. So sex should bring pleasure. In the course of it, some hormones will be released that would bring relief, right? And then sex also helps intimacy, helps with your bonding.
Absolutely.
In the course of having sex, there are hormones that are released that would help you, that strengthens the bond you both share.
Yeah, like oxytocin.
Oxytocin, yes, he's just told me. Yeah. So in the course of that, someone on the live chat is asking, what should we do? Okay, so you need to engage in the course of it. Fine.
Go on.
Okay, now different things would work for different couples. Some will tell you that when they go through the kissing, and then when you identify the original spots for the woman, her neck, her the back of her earlobes, her breasts, of course, and then the truth is, do what works for your spouse.
Okay.
And why is that? We were in a meeting one day, and somebody was talking and said, "Oh, women love kissing," and one woman said, "I don't." And it seemed like, "Oh, you're the odd person in the room." But she said, "Yes, it's not." She finds it dirty, and her husband had to understand that. Okay, but there are other things she finds, pleasurable.
Absolutely.
So back to what I was saying. I hope I answered the question about what should I do. Maybe you will add some more. Okay. So if we see the benefits, if we look at the benefits of sex, then we would see the need to have it often. It won't just be a duty. It's like that thing, it's like exercise. Sometimes you don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Sex is a form of exercise, interestingly. But sometimes you don't feel like it. But the good exercise will do to your body. There are times you feel tired, but then you decide to do it anyway. by the time you do it, a lot of your nerves feel more relaxed. You feel yourself and you feel good.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's how it is. You don't feel like it, but by the time you engage in the process, if done well, then it should bring relief. Talking about going 7 times at a go, I think in this case you need to put your spouse into consideration.
Absolutely.
If you're going 7 times and your spouse is happy to go 7 times, then that's good. If your spouse is complaining, then we need to look into it.
Absolutely.
And then that might then begin to tend towards, because there are people who have that as a medical issue. So then it might need looking into. You want to check something?
Yes, as much as possible, do something not to please yourself, but to please your spouse. Because at the end of the day, it's very important for you to put your spouse's interests, prioritize your spouse's interests. So we're talking about busy couples. Busy couples are people that have all kind of targets that they're always chasing. So while you are completing one, you are chasing the next one. After you're done with the property, you are chasing something else. So there's always something that you are always chasing. Why? Because that's just the nature of your life. That's the life you've chosen. Now, if you keep giving excuse, oh, today I'm tired, then that excuse is going to be a perpetual excuse. So you have to find a way around it, because your life is not going to be simpler. That was the time I call myself to order. Hey, you can't be complaining. This is the life you've chosen. The only way to change this life is to cut down on your goals. And you know what that means. That means you are shrinking below your capacity. You're going to be functioning below your capacity. So own the fact that this is the life you've chosen. There will always be new things. So begin to reprioritize yourself, or create new priorities with the light of this knowledge. So sex is a priority for marriage.
Yes.
No matter how busy we are, how intelligent you are, you need that aspect of your life to be, because it helps, like you said, it helps to build connection. And when you are building that connection, it helps conflict management. Because once you are in a certain emotional wavelength, conflict management is much easier than when you guys are not in a very connected. Any little thing can just be, blown out of proportion. But when you have that emotional connection that you trust and you love each other, someone will do something that, maybe I'm not happy about it, and then you are gone. But if you are not in a good place, that little thing can be explosive. That's one key thing. In addition to it, help you to reduce stress. It helps conflict management really, really good. Another thing, you need to create the right ambience, the right atmosphere. She was saying something about the woman. You need to understand how to set the woman in the motion. A woman is like a massive ship, where before you turn it, it will take a while. It keeps steering. A guy like this, most guys, all right, most guys, I need to emphasize that. All right, so it's like the difference between is it the hot? I've forgotten now. There's one that is like hot iron and the cooking stove. There's one that when you put it on, I don't know the difference, but you know what I'm saying. When you put it on, it takes time to heat up, like the oven. Yeah, that's like the woman. But for the guy, the one that you light and you just come on, that's the guy for most guys. So, but for a lady, speaking to guys now, you need to ensure that sex for a woman starts with her mind. You need to engage her mind. If she's not happy with you, she will not enjoy the sexual experience. You need to address any underlying issue that you guys have not solved.
Okay.
Otherwise, what will happen is that she's just doing it out of duty, and that's not the best experience. She'll just be there and be looking at you. Are you done? Oh, yeah, let's go. And you don't want that kind of experience. You want to engage her. Yes, you want to talk to her. You want to talk to her mind during the day, find out how she's doing, compliment her looks, help her to get things done, help her to pack her lunch, help her to iron. Little things. That's why we say romance is the little but consistent thing. Not doing it because you need the sex. She will know. She will be looking at you. But if that is how you've been you used to treating her, she's used to that kind of, and each time you need to also raise the game. All right. So sex is very, very powerful. It's very necessary. It's the right of your husband. It's the right of your wife. But don't demand it. Say that, oh, it's my right as my husband. No. It will work once. It will work twice. After a while, it won't work. Why? Because that is not how to work with people.
And it will be pleasurable.
It will be pleasurable.
The sex is intended for pleasure.
Absolutely. It's going to be mechanical. Yeah. It's going to be mechanical. And then another thing I wanted to say is that it's good when it's spontaneous. And like, she just calls you, come, I'm around though. What's happening? What's happening? Whatever meeting you are going, you need to leave that meeting immediately. And do the needful. But in a situation whereby you can't do the spontaneity because of the kind of level that you guys are in terms of your organization.
Yeah.
Schedule it. So I like to talk about scheduling and then spontaneity. Spontaneity is the fun part.
Yeah.
Sharp, get it done. But sometimes you need to schedule it. And so, for example, a woman that feels pain, let her go and see a doctor or a gynecologist, all right?
Yeah.
To find out why it's not normal. She will probably see. And then for some people, it's not that they have a biological issue. It's just that for them, it's a psychological thing. They have to see a therapist. Yeah. Maybe they were abused when they were growing up. Maybe the doctrine that they were taught about sex, they've not unlearned that behavior.
Yeah.
Because the moment a man touches you, boom, that's one way. So that programming is still running somewhere. Though she's married, 5 years into marriage, she's still running that program somewhere. She needs to see a therapist that will help her unlearn that part if she's struggling. All right. So just to round it off here,
and then the stage of life she's in, if she's a new mom, she might not be up for it because she's still in pain. Yes. And I can see someone was agreeing with you and said some people feel stressed by sex. And, right? Okay, that's true. But what we need to put into focus is the benefits, how it would help. And looking at some of the other points he's raised about conflict management, those are just very critical issues we need to pay attention to.
Yeah. Thank you. So yes, you should be spontaneous when it comes to sex. And if your busy schedule does not permit, then you have to put it on your calendar, pretty much.
Absolutely.
Reminds me of a conference that I attended last month. And the speaker was talking about sex as well for busy couples. And she said that, where they used to live to where the husband was working was, it was a long distance. And of course, because of traffic in Lagos, Nigeria, I mean, I think anyone who knows Lagos knows it's crazy. And so she came up with this idea whereby she would go drop her husband at work and go back later, at night to go pick him up. And usually when she gets there at night, every other person has gone home. It's just the husband. So, the baby's in the car with their maid. And so when she's upstairs, since there's no one else in the office, they take the opportunity to and then they're done and they can come back downstairs and go home and everybody's happy. So I guess just whatever works for you, you have to be creative when it comes to things like this, especially if you're very busy. So thanks for, talking about that. So this is another question. I know that we women, we're very emotional. We're emotional beings. And I think you mentioned earlier that, you can't be doing nice things for your wife just because, you want to, have sex with her later in the day. And I've heard it when someone said, if you want your wife to be nice to you at 10 p.m. at night, start being nice to her from 10 a.m. in the morning. Like be part of her schedule, whatever it is she's doing, And so when women feel like the husband, like their husbands do not connect with them emotionally, what would you advise that they do just so that they can get their husbands to connect with them emotionally?
Okay, I'll start then. I think it might be important to understand, to check out what's going on.
Okay.
What phase of life is he in? For some men, when they've got a project, a pressing thing to do, they get very immersed in that. They're very project driven. And then some do not realize that it begins to affect the relationship. For some other cases where you might see this is where the man is tending towards depression. Okay, so he just feels demotivated about life. There's no enthusiasm about anything. okay, that could also affect things. So it is necessary to probe, to talk about what's going on. And
Okay.
which is something else I wanted to say earlier. I think it just came to me when you asked the question about should your spouse be your best friend?
Yes.
You know, the thing is sometimes some people, the problem they have is he doesn't talk with me. We don't connect as friends. We don't connect as we do, as I do with my other friends.
Yes.
Now, as a woman, if that's the challenge, you need to then understand, ask yourself why that is happening. Is it that he just doesn't talk, or you're probably not meeting him at a certain mental level, or
Okay.
you're probably not interested in what he's interested in? So you might need to begin to show more interest in his affairs. So talking about emotional connection now, when you begin to show an interest, he begins to feel like, oh, okay, so what I do is important to you. You know, when we say couples should always find a common mission, it is important that, okay, even if you say there's nothing connecting us, we don't have, we're not in the same careers, you need to then begin to indicate some interest in in what the other does. That can be a meeting point too.
Absolutely.
That can be a point of connection. So do not just sit back and say, oh, okay, it's not happening, I've tried. In a case like that, you may learn, you may need to up your questioning skills. You may need to study first to know more about his interest, his area of interest, if you don't, and then up your questioning skills by asking questions that would make him give you the answers you need.
Absolutely.
Questions that would get him talking to the point you begin to connect.
Yeah.
When you talk about an area people are interested in, you see them lighten up. Something in them wants to keep going. For someone who you think is quiet, you see the person going on and on and on.
Yes.
So you might need to then learn to ask questions. You know, like they would tell you in advocacy, you ask questions that elicit some answers. You don't ask open-ended questions. Okay, so like, and as parents, sometimes we make that mistake. You go to pick your child in school. You say, "Did your day go okay? What are you expecting? Is yes or no?" Yeah. When the child says yes, that's it. But there are questions you ask the child that will make the child talk about the day, talk about his friend and what this person did to me in the playground. You see, so we also need to bring this into our relationships. Try to connect with your spouse through asking the right questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just to add a few points to that is, if you're talking about busy couples, you know that what these guys are upwardly mobile people. Is chasing new level, though he's been promoted, is aiming for the next promotion. That means there will be a lot of self-development. And if you are the kind of spouse that is not growing as well as your spouse is growing, after a while there will be a disconnect between what we call mental intimacy. So when the person is trying to articulate a new concept, you're just looking at him. You don't even know. You don't listen to the news. You don't know what is happening. And someone important is being discussed, and your spouse is discussing with you. Say, who is that? The thought of knowing how to even explain to bring you up to par is so exhausting. You say, don't worry about it. Don't worry. You have to begin to worry. Because it means that there is a gap is gradually building. And what will happen eventually is that you won't be able to communicate effectively. Why? Because your language skills will change. Their vocabulary will change. So this person is making progress and you are not making progress. But you are still happy. He still loves you. She still loves you. But there is a dichotomy that is happening. If that is not bridged as fast as possible, it's going to cause some real issues. So that's one key way of connecting. Another thing is that sometimes spouses discuss personal issues with each other. And when they are at par, when they disagree with each other, they use those intimate moments, those things that their spouses discuss with them in confidence. All right, they use it against them now. That's how you said the other day that when you were young, what are you saying to him? You're saying that I can't trust you with my secrets. And when people don't share their secrets, there's a level of intimacy you can't get. Because what is intimacy? Intimacy is intimacy. You see me the way I am, and I'm not ashamed. So the moment you can build that kind of relationship where I can come as I am, that's why he said they were both naked and they were not ashamed. Why? Nakedness is not just about physical nakedness, it's emotional nakedness. Yes. Where I tell you about some of my mistakes in the past, and you don't use it to your assessment of me does not diminish. You have passed a mark, you have passed a test. So you see me as this man of God, though you know my weaknesses. It's very important. So no, that's why some people die with their secret, because they know my spouse can handle this. Even if he handle this with me, he will not be able to handle it with a person. Because when they see the person, is it you? They are on their breath. So those are things that helps people to connect emotionally. Emotional connection is not automatic. People need to feel safe, ideologically safe, that I can share my thoughts. People need to feel emotionally safe, financially safe. All right. So, for example, you are the type that likes that as you just see anything, you buy it and then you think about it later. Now, how do you create that kind of to create trust? You tell your spouse, what do you think about this? You have someone that will check you. But if you have that kind of situation whereby you buy like that, and then it's for example, I know a particular couple that the spouse practically hides the credit card, the card. Why? Because she doesn't want him to get his hand on it. The moment he gets his hand on it, he's going to spend it, not gambling, maybe helping people or doing stuff, but without her permission. So what happens is that she's now that kind of woman, she's not safe financially. And one of the needs of a woman is safety, emotional safety. She feels that our financial future is safe. You are not going to make a decision that will set me back after all these years of working. I know of somebody else that saved a lot of money while he was single. The moment he got married, he can't account for one thing. He's earning a lot, but he can't show for it. He can't show anything for it. Because the person is married, is just blowing the thing all over again, and then they keep doing the same. So things like that make people begin to hide stuff. So you have too many stuff that you are hiding. You can't even remember the one you've not told her. So you get to that point where that's a level of intimacy that you guys can build, because there is no vulnerability, to borrow your word. Emotional intimacy, romance and emotional intimacy, you need to have some level of vulnerability. Otherwise, what you are doing, you're just playing games. You're just playing roles of husband and wife and wearing and co, but it doesn't change anything. By and co, I mean, wearing combinations, color coordination.
Yeah, it's Ashwebi. I love Ashwebi. So this brings me to my last question. Today, I've seen couples who, when they were dating, and maybe when they first got married, they were head over heels, in love with each other. They were always in each other's businesses and wearing Ashwebi everywhere. But you could feel the passion. They're genuinely happy with each other. And then as time goes on, they start to drift apart, even though they used to make themselves happy before. And now it's like, the other person doesn't want to go home from work, early just because the romance is dead. How do you revive something like that?
All right, so we've mentioned some of these, but I'll just reiterate some of them and then we'll try and add more. So one thing is address underlying disagreements, issues. When you have underlying issues that you have not been addressed, it's particularly the one that you keep doing. So for a guy, you keep doing the same thing again and again, and then you got to that point where you don't really care how she feels. What happens is that you are building a toxic environment where the spouse is just, in fact, some people pray for their spouse to die so that they can remarry. Once it gets to that point, it's terrible. So that's how some situations have been. We've worked with some couples that is really, really terrible. That's staying in the same place, they can't trust what will happen to each other. So things like that do not grow overnight. All right, it's like a weed. The moment you don't pluck it out quite early, the next thing you will see, it will be pulling down your fence. Why? Because they don't need a lot of nutrient to grow. They just grow because it's a weed. So such things need to be addressed. Now, let me quickly point this out. Sometimes we have the tendency to explain away our spouse's distaste for something. So is it just this thing? That's how I've been doing it. Maybe you are the type that eat when you are eating, the whole house knows. Chop, 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 the whole thing. But your spouse is from a posh environment. She doesn't like it, or he doesn't like it. And say, is it this? That's how you know that the food is sweet. No. Where we are going, the kind of friends we are going to have, this is an unacceptable behavior. So you can, because you are coming from a ghetto that you are just being transformed. So you see that that's not a problem. This is how I do it. Me, you can't change me. No, but you can change. It was a learned behavior. So, but when you discount what somebody else, because it's tribal to you, it's tribal to you, and you discount that can build potential resentment. So that's one key thing that kills romance.
Let me jump in and throw one.
Yes.
We encourage people to have rituals as couples.
Absolutely.
Now, when we say rituals, they might sound big, but they're just basic things, very little things. Like for us, we have rituals of praying together, right? And I always say this when I talk to people, and I say it's very nice because we do this thing where you pray for me to my hearing, and I pray for you to your hearing. For me, hearing him voice his intentions about me to God, it makes me feel really special, right? And that's a ritual. It's that basic. We bathe together. That's a ritual. We'll have that time together, and it brings us together. Okay, when we talk about rituals, this is us just saying meeting points, especially for big couples. You carry on and on and on. What's that thing that pulls you together, that makes you touch base with the other? So you don't just go on. Like, okay, with working from home, somebody was talking yesterday, I think, and was saying his office is downstairs, his wife's office is upstairs. So they meet 5 times a day. They go down. I don't know how they work that around work, but they go down to see each other, to visit each other. They find it romantic. Those are rituals. Okay. Think together.
Absolutely.
When you talked about your parents, with mom having to wait for dad to come back before eating. You see, that's a meeting point for them. That's when they bond. That's when they talk. They talk about their day. Couples shouldn't just go on and on and on without knowing what's happening in each other's life. So those are very critical moments. Then there's one my husband likes to say, parenting together. For us is a ritual. We'll make it a duty that, we are on the same page as we parent, right? So it pulls you together. My input counts in this. Okay, just little things. You want to add some more?
Yeah, well, another thing I would like to also add is that we need to be, just in summary, we need to be intentional about this. All right, none of this will, if we're not careful as busy couples, we're going to be living parallel lives.
Yeah.
We'll be living as roommates in the same building. We'll be in the same physical space, but not in the same emotional space. You can be in the same space, sit on the same bed, but you are on social media, you are connected, you are in worlds apart. Or this one is doing this, that person is doing this, but she's close to you, but she doesn't know anything. So especially now that large part of the world is working remotely, we need to be intentional about connecting, right? Because device time now. We're researching, and then we heard that the average person touches their phones 2,000 times a day. 2,000 times a day. Every time you touch, you get Instagram, Twitter, notification. It's just the way we live now. But is it bad? No, because it depends on what you're doing on social media. You might be selling, you might be doing business, you might be consulting, you might be coaching, but don't forget that charity begins at home. Love begins at home. Don't neglect the person that is beside you. That's why you see some people, they do all fantastic work out there. People think of them as wonderful, but see them as demons at home, because they come home with leftover emotions. And that's why Mother Teresa said something. She said, if you want to save the world, go home and spend time with your family. Go home and love your family. That was our own perspective of saving the world. Go home and love your family. Because if you save everybody else and your home is in disarray, you failed practically.
Well, thank you. It reminds me of something that happened a few days ago. I was talking to my uncle, and I think about 20 minutes later, he told me to hold on. And then he came back. And when he put me on hold, I mean, it wasn't like, he turned off the phone or anything. So I could hear that he was just welcoming, one of the kids back from, I think she went out or something. And then when he came back, he said, "Hey, I'm sorry I put you on hold, but I already told my kids, and pretty much all the family knows that when you are at home and any member of the family comes back home, no matter what you're doing, whether even if you're on the phone with the president, you have to put the person on hold and welcome
Wow.
family member." And, I mean, when I heard that, I'm like, wow. That's amazing, because it makes me feel important. It makes me feel like I matter, and so little things like that counts. And again, just like you said, everything has to be intentional. It, I mean, great marriages don't happen by chance. Happy marriages, it's not like they just run. It's a miracle we have a happy marriage. No, people intentionally work towards it. There was something else that I saw in a movie, and when I saw that, I loved it, and I was like, I'm gonna do this, for my home. And you see couples when they had the butterflies going and they just met and everything was perfect, they used to write notes, like on the sticky notes. They will write things to each other, and so they decided to frame these random notes that they sent to each other. And so years later, after they married, when it gets to that point where you're like, I'm tired, I can't do this anymore, you'll just see, I mean, just at some random times, they would go to the framed, notes, just sit down with those notes and try to remember, go back to that point when they were writing these notes and how they felt, about each other then. And obviously, I mean, at some point, that really helped their marriage. So intentional things, you have to be intentional. Thank you, both of you, for today. And for allowing me to do this.
Thank you so much.
We want to say thank you to everyone who engaged. I mean, Relationship Builders Forum, Amarachi Amalgo, Angela Jamara. Thank you so much. You guys.
Thank you. So do you guys want to say just a little thing about, your coaching programs? Because that is how we met. So you never know who might need it. So maybe just talk about your coaching programs a little bit.
Okay.
Absolutely. So I'd like to talk about the first one, which is Intimacy Builder Program for singles.
Okay.
Now, the idea behind this is usually people hear when people talk to singles, they'll say, go and find. But that finding part is half of the equation. The first part is you becoming the kind of person you want to find. Because if you think of it, birds of a feather flock together. The person you are right now is attracting the people in your space. And so if you are not happy about the kind of people you keep attracting, so maybe you're always attracting married men, you're always attracting certain kind of people that you can't marry. The issue is not them, because it has happened once, twice, second time, third time, fourth time. The common denomination is you. So you need to find out what messaging are you sending out to the atmosphere that you need to correct from within, so that you can begin to attract the right kind of people. So one key thing that will take you through a program of 8 weeks, and then we'll show you step by step things that you need to make adjustment on, and then you'll be amazed, because the philosophy behind this is that if you become a better version of you, you have better relationships, and that's how it works, because that is who you are, is who you attract. Okay. So, and for engaged couples, these are people who have already found each other. Now they want to build and establish, they want to build their own nation, their own family. So what we do basically is to help them look at some key aspect of their relationship and say, how do you align your philosophies around money, around sex, around in-laws? We have a template that we use. And eventually we've seen a number of them really, really do very well. And, they see popping once in a while, we see how that relationship, and so a lot of them have become family members practically. And then we have and then we have married couples who have specific aspect of their marriage that they want to work on. So maybe they've been married for 5 years, for 10 years, but so there's an aspect that keeps, anytime they touch on it, it seems like things just explode. It's like what we call radioactive. All right, so once you talk about this issue, the whole house is exploding. So you need a third party to help you look at why is this causing an issue and help you address it. For some people it's money, for some people it's in-laws, for some people it's sex, whatever it is, we have a template that will help you work it out. And then we can see how we can improve. And then we have a Facebook group where we hold conversations, where you can interact. We have our Twitter. We have, of course, our YouTube. So, but all platforms, you find us the same.
Foundation for Family Affairs.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for watching today. We appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll get to do this again soon.
If anyone wants to have contact with us, they can send an email to info@foundationforfamilyaffairs.org. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you guys, and you have a wonderful day, and happy Valentine's Day in advance.
Same to you. Thank you so much. And thank you for doing this. Thank you. And thanks to all of you. It's goodbye for us for now. Bye.
Bye.